So things that happen. Okay, so my recording is back. And again, apologies for that. Didn't expect that to happen. All right, let's go back to our info here. And let's see now if I can add the material. So you see what's happening? If I click on it twice, material appears completely. And when I click on filter, it's asking me if I want to, hold on, I think somebody's unmuted there.
Yeah, it's Antonio. Antonio Quaranta.
Okay.
I muted him. No worries.
Thanks, Daniel. Okay, so if you see that, if I click on it once, it grays out, and now I can filter by material, you see? But if I'm sort of like double clicking on this and now it's not grayed out and I filter, I don't have the filter options, okay? Just in case this happens to you as well. So make sure that it's not here, that it's grayed out and not completely written out in black letters. And we can filter and we can add our material here. And we can even take that from the same cover page that we're using. Again, this is just to show you guys how we can maybe select the proper bin we want to put things into. So I did this, and so you guys follow. I did this just to filter out materials that are the same that I already have in this storage location, that I already have in bins. All right, maybe here I want to check and see where I want to put it into. Because this one here, for example, SHL, ending in number 3, has 100 tablets already. So why do I want to maybe add it to and add it 101? Maybe I want to put it somewhere else, right? And I had added my Brian training one here, so I'm going to put it there. Yes? I don't think that's a question. Okay, so I'm going to add it here to the bin. So that's why it's important, and that's why I'm showing you this T code. This T code for LX02 is going to show you the materials that you have in stock in specific bins. Okay, and I'm going to use this one, 001 Brian. We can close. I'll go back here. Now, remember, you guys have your TR number. You can select it and simply click on the foreground button. All right, and then you will skip. If you do that, what you're doing is you're skipping the step of adding the other T code, LT06, right? It's going to take you directly to process. Since you're the warehouse senior user already, and you're the same one performing the action below, you can do that. You can just simply click on it and process it instead of doing LT06. If you want to follow the steps I indicate here, you can do that too and write LT06. First thing I'm going to do is add my warehouse here, AF1. So now I know that is the warehouse I'm looking for. I'm going to go back to Citrix and I'm going to do that, TO in foreground. And here we go. We have our material here. We have the information that we have to process. And now to do so, you see the options here at the top. This forklift with the put away, the plus sign, it's the put away in foreground. And then we have another icon that is put away in background. So if we did it like this, if we do it directly from the T code before, we just click on this put away foreground and it'll take us to the screen where we have to select, see, our destination bin and section. If we did it the other way around, meaning if we wanted to close this window here and say, I want to do it the right way, I want to follow the instructions, and since I'm new to this, I want to make sure that I'm doing things correctly. So then you can follow and go and say, okay, I want to use the right T code. You can do LT06 now that you already know what transfer requirement you have. Okay, we can do our LT06. And in this case, for LT06, what you do is you add your material document number, the year, and the warehouse number. So you see there's different requirements that you have to add for this one. So if I did that and I added my number exactly as it is, 271, then here, material document year is 2020, and the warehouse number is AF1. If I do it like this, I end up in the same place as before, see? But different T code. I click on put away foreground. I don't know if you have a question.
I'm checking. I think it's Antonio. Antonio Carmelo Grego. You keep, sorry, Antonio, you keep muting and unmuting the whole time. Just double check your speaker or your microphone because it seems to be turning on every 5 seconds. I will mute you. Sorry for that.
All right, thanks.
Okay, over to you.
So here we go. Let's finish this step. Remember, TR, transfer requirement, what this is the warehouse senior user telling the warehouse user that there is a requirement for a transfer, right? Something is incoming in this case, and we have to put it away in a bin. To do that, to create a transfer order, because this is the order that we're going to give, we have to process the transfer requirement. And as the warehouse senior user, I'm responsible to tell the system where I want this requirement to go, where I want this tablet to go. This old supply that is returning from stock, and it's coming from, see, the storage area return in this case. So I'm going to write here, maybe I can select it from the matchbox. We have a couple of options here, and we can select where we want it to go. In this case, since I know I checked before during LX02 that I want to put it in this section, I'm going to select 001, which is in building A. And I'm going to write my bin here, or I can simply click on this bar if the last transactions are here, and I can select the one that I created on purpose for this training. And what I'm going to tell the system now is that this is where I want the goods to be put away to. But in this case, right now, I'm not doing anything physically. I'm just telling the system. In this case, what I'm doing is I'm sort of bringing those materials that were processed in Migo that are now in the inventory management part of Umoja. I'm taking that part and I'm making it go into the warehouse management part of Umoja, right? But I'm doing this in the system. It's not being done physically as of yet. So we can click and it tells me check your entries. Again, it's just a warning message. I can keep going and I'll say yes, and there you go. It seems like nothing happened. It just kind of disappeared. But if you realize at the bottom here, what I have is now my destination bin for the old supply. Okay, so we know that something happened here. We can click on save, and that's going to generate our transfer order. Okay, so there you go, transfer order. Yes.
Hi, Brian. Now that you're just about to confirm the TO, right? I just posted in the chat a slide where you can see basically what Brian is doing, and we will keep doing this for the next weeks, meaning that all movements of stock performed at the inventory level must be followed by a warehouse transaction, by the TOs and the confirming the TOs. So I just put, I think, a very good slide that I found with the integration between warehouse and inventory. So all these Migo transactions, goods received, good issue, all the transfer of stocks, depending on the location of the status, has to be followed by a put away or a picking by a warehouse or a posting change in the warehouse. So just to bear in mind, especially for newcomers, you know, just to as a rule of thumb, let's say, every movement in inventory has to be followed by a movement in a warehouse, meaning transfer requirement, transfer order, confirming the transfer order. Just I know that there's maybe some exceptions, but I think for the sake of, you know, repeating the same thing once again, because we will be doing that in this transaction, in write-off, and in some others, all these movements in inventory are followed by a transfer order that has to be confirmed in the warehouse. Just to double check and underline that part. Over to you, Brian.
Thank you, Daniel. So exactly right, and that's what we're doing now. We're finishing the work of bringing things from inventory now into warehouse physically, right? So as the warehouse senior user, I've just performed first I looked for a list of requirements of things to do that are coming from an inventory transaction. Then what I'm doing, my second step, what I just did now, is now create a transfer order so that my warehouse user can actually physically perform this move of the goods, receive these goods, put them into the bin. Okay, it's not only about adding it to the system, things are actually happening in real life too, right? There is movement of goods in the warehouse now. But if I don't complete this transfer requirement, is if a warehouse senior user, I don't do my job, the warehouse user won't do it either, because he or she won't know that something has to be done. And all these are going to be pending transactions, right? Things that are going to pile up. And when I actually generated my transaction to see all my transfer requirements, you guys saw the long list of TRs that I had. That's something you're going to be encountering when you're in the mission too. You're going to have a longer list than that one probably, of things that have probably pending since, who knows, 2019, 18, hopefully not before that. Okay, but you're going to find all these types of things, and this is what we need to check. And now, just the same way I did as the senior user, the warehouse senior user, I checked for TRs. Now, as the warehouse user, I'm going to check for TOs, for transfer orders. So again, I can go back to my cover page here. All right, we just performed this transaction, display the transfer requirements, then checked the bins. I didn't use LX1, but I checked them nonetheless. LX1 is for empty bins, remember? Then I did the put away, but this is not yet the end of the story, right? Now there's a list of open transfer orders that the warehouse user has to do. See how the roles have changed. So again, now I would have to go here and grab the warehouse user, select it, come back to Citrix, get out of this screen, okay? And say yes, log back in. Again, I'm taking note of all my transactions too, just in case. I'm running the transaction here, and I'm back into my screen. And again, as the cover page indicates, what I should do now as the warehouse user is LT23 to check my list of open transfers. Okay, so if I did everything correctly, I should have now, according to the warehouse that I'm looking at, of course, I'm always working with warehouse AF1, I can just run this right now with the warehouse information, or I can add my transfer order here. I do it for only open TOs, only confirmed TOs, or all TO items if I want to. So you can make changes here and have different views of the TOs that are actually pending here. Okay, so I'm going to run this for open TO items and only with the warehouse info. And you see, even as the warehouse user now, I have pending transactions. All the red lights are pending transactions. These are all things that should be looked at. Understand what has to be done for each one of these, because each one of these is a different requirement. But in a sense, it's still a pending transfer order that no action has been taken for. Okay, we see that we have different, if we learn how to read these documents, I know it's not easy for newcomers, but remember the top line here, the top line information is going to define the top line here as well. So we have our 578 is our TO number. Then we have material here, item here, always the top line. Then we have the storage type, 001, storage bin, so on, the unit of measure, and the quantity as well, okay? So we have the one here. Second line, see, we have plant, here it is, created on, and then we have the information on the destination bin. Okay, you see there's 3 lines here, there's 3 lines here. Third one is empty. What we're looking at is our first one, source bin, second one, destination bin. Okay, and the quantity is 1 coming from the source bin, 1 coming into the destination bin. And that's very important because when I do a transfer requirement and I'm receiving goods into warehouse, I don't necessarily have to process the whole thing the first time. So there could be things still pending. This could show that I have items incoming, but not all of them are being received. Okay, so there's something to learn and pay attention to. Let's see if I can find my TO number here. I can perform the same transaction with the filter option here, or I can simply also use the created on date and say the way I want to see it. No, sort in descending or sort in ascending. If I do in descending, I know that my latest should be up top, and that's the one. See, I put in my bin. Okay, 1183, and it's done today, 23 April. So I know this is it. I can simply double click on it, and here you go. I am looking at what is being received and take a look at it and say, okay, this is what is being received. It's okay, perfect. Let me do the movement of the goods physically. So I'm going to grab these. In this sense, it's only a computer laptop. And in reality, it could be a lot more things at once. So I'm going to start moving things. And I'm going to check and see what it is that I have to move. Okay, perfectly. So I got this. What else should I do now that I checked my transfer orders? My next step would be to now confirm the transfer order. Right? This is the LT23 is only to see the list of open transfer orders. We did that, so I can highlight this. And I'm in my next step, LT12 to confirm the order. So let me go back here. Remember the /n it clears up the T code that I'm using, and I can just simply do LT12. I can also write /n LT12, and it will take away anything that's on my screen and take me to that next T code as well. Okay, so LT12, and already it's pre-populated here. My TO is 1183. My warehouse number is AF1. Perfect. So I can work with that. If I click enter, now is when I'm going to have to confirm internally these materials, right, into this bin. Okay, nothing has been done yet because you see active work list. If I go to confirmed, there's nothing there. But inactive, I have one item that is coming in, that is being received. And then this is as simple as simply clicking on confirm internally. So this should be done, as far as I'm aware, after you have physically performed this transaction, right? Because if not, you're confirming something you haven't done yet. And it's very easy that if you confirm it, and then it's the end of the day or the weekend, on Monday you forgot that you didn't move these things. So always do this after you have physically moved the goods. Not that you're going to be doing that, but it's just so you understand this and you can visualize it. We have the line selected. I'm clicking on confirm internally, and now see it moves to the tab confirm internally, and there it is. In the active list, I have nothing. Confirmed, I have the line. I'm good to go. I can save, and it's posted. 1183 transfer order posted. And that would be the end of the process for the warehouse transactions. We have basically done all the warehouse transactions, and now if we checked the ZLE stock overview one, the one that we checked this morning before we performed this transaction, we had, I think, 217. Now we should have 218 in the storage location 3101, all right? We can also check stock per material with LX02, or we can run this T code again. I added the other extras. If you guys want to learn also or perform a transfer from bin to bin, an internal transfer, we'll see if we have time to show that during tomorrow's transactions too, because we're doing a transfer STOs and also transfer from one step, two step, from one storage location to another. But it's a very simple process. Once you learn how to do the transfer order, you'll know how to do the other one as well, okay? And the steps are explained in the exercise. So basically, at this point, we would be almost done, right? We have done almost all our work. Let's check first to see if it's done. And then, of course, our final step is complete notification, because remember, that thing is still open, right? We need to go back there. We need to make sure that we add the material document, the TR and the TO, that it's completed, and that the actual notification is also completed, right? The task and the notification. So let's do that and take a look. So we can do as the warehouse user, I'm going to see if I can just check the stock first. I'll go back to Citrix. Now I'm going to use the ZN, and I'm going to paste the stock overview here. Okay, here we go again with my bad writing. Okay. I think maybe this letter. All right, so here we go again, like this morning. I'm copying and pasting the wrong information. And it just takes me, is that the issue that, okay, let's see. I just want to make sure that I wasn't blocked by the user. There you go. Okay, might as well type it in. All right, so, and don't bear with me. I'm going to take that sound out in a second. Okay, as soon as I log out again, I'm going to take that little sound out again. Let's make sure that we add the equipment. If I'm not mistaken, that's it. Let me just scroll up to make sure. And the equipment is this one. I'm going to go back. Just paste it just to be sure. Okay, sorry, that's the material. See? So even when you're doing these things too quickly, you can make very simple mistakes. All right, so material, I'm adding the material here. I'm adding the plant US00, and I'm adding the storage location 3101, and today's date, 2020. And now when I execute this, okay, I should see an increase in the stock levels. Okay, and there you go. You remember this morning it was 217, now it's 218. So I know that I correctly performed the transaction of putting the goods into the warehouse, the Migo transaction, so everything has been done properly, and now I have one more item in this storage location under unrestricted use. Okay, very important that you guys can see that. And now it all makes sense, right? From the beginning this morning, we checked 217. At the end of the process, 218. So we're good to go. The last thing is our famous notification, correct? So let me just log out once again, and this will be my last log out of this exercise. Let me remove the sound first for everyone's sake. Get that out of the way, apply, okay, and here we go. Now we won't have that horrendous sound going on all the time. Let's make sure that now we log in as the notification user. My last step, IW52. Here it is, ST notification user. It's pasted here, and this is the last time I'm doing a login and log out. All right, we use our T code IW52. And now remember that that is the editing option for the notification. It could still be here, 1705. Okay, very good. So I'm just going to run with this one. And here's our notification. Let's check. See, remember what we did this morning? We added material, equipment, reservation. But now we have new things to add to this, right? And we should add them because it's proof of what we've been doing. We have our tasks. We see that we updated notification with the equipment number here. We see that we updated the equipment status valuation type. We brought the equipment back to stock. We updated the equipment, see, the business partner, and then we did the put away process, and now we're completing the notification. So what's clear is that all the steps before have been performed, so they can be completed here. And now the only thing I'm missing is to complete my actual notification. All right, and that's going to come down to this flag here at the end. Remember that? So first we'll complete our last step, say that it's completed, and now we have no more tasks to complete based on the ones we had on our list. We see that everything is fine here. Let's add our information for the material document and any other info that we may have here. Okay, so let's make sure that we add material doc, and we add our information. We're going to do the same thing for the transfer requirement. We're going to do the same thing for the transfer order. Okay, and now let's just start inserting numbers here. So since I took note of these, we can always just write them in, 29, 271. Do the same thing for transfer requirement, which was the 611, and the transfer order 1183. So now I have not only the tasks completed, but proof that I did them. I even have all the documents there. We're not done yet. Let's see if there's anything else to do here in the notification status. And we have created, approved, rejected, assigned. So nothing left to do here in terms of statuses. We're not going to reject. It was already approved. It was already created. Last user status is this one. So we're good to go. Now the last thing we have to do is simply complete our notification and save it. Okay, and if you guys follow your exercise, it's also there after the stock check that I ask you guys to perform here too. At the end, it tells you complete notification, IW52. It tells you to add your documents, to complete your tasks, and then finally to complete the notification there too. Once you save, it's the end of this exercise. Okay, so we go back, we complete. It tells us the reference date and time. We say yes. Okay. And there you go. Notification completed. If we go back to it, it's all grayed out. It says notification is completed, can only be displayed. All right. So now we have everything grayed out. We've already completed it. There's, of course, a way to put it back in process. If you guys see, there's a button here to in process again, because, of course, we're all human and we can make a mistake and forget something. So we could always go back to it and add anything that we want to, and then, of course, complete it. But that's the end of this exercise. So no, it only took us 2 hours and 42 minutes to complete this exercise. Of course, I was going very slowly. I was explaining every step. Hopefully it's clear. Once this is clear, you should be able to perform all these transactions, I don't know, in an hour maybe less, depending on how good you are. If you're new, maybe a little more. But this is it, okay? That's the end of the exercise for return to stock. Now, before we go on, any questions maybe in the chat or any comments?
Hi, Brian. So I think it was very, very clear. So it was very comprehensive, and I just want to underline the fact that as well, this is the complete, let's say, end-to-end process in order to return to stock a piece of equipment, and there are several users involved, right? Eventually, our colleagues, our students will be performing just part of the process in case that they are in warehouse or they're in inventory or they are doing something else. So it's important that we all understand the A to Z process, but eventually you will focus on a part of the transaction, or excuse me, a part of the business process. So you will have to really understand what comes before and which are the implications after you are doing the transactions as well. So and then I posted in the chat the results of the survey as well, that we put at the beginning of this session. As you can see in the screenshot that I put in the chat, more or less 82% of the students are okay with the pace, although a large amount of the students, almost 50%, they think that we still some more study needs to be done, but they are okay with the content, with the delivery and the pace. And then I highlighted 18% that may need extra help in order to really understand what we are explaining over here. So because this survey is completely anonymous, please reach out to me, to Brian, to any of the trainers, so we can see what else we can do in order to make you feel a little bit more comfortable with the whole process. But just for your information, it's absolutely normal that you do feel a bit overwhelmed because it's 2 weeks training, but it's 40 hours training, 2 hours in the morning, 2 hours in the afternoon, and we're going to go through a lot of business processes. So it's absolutely normal that you may feel a bit overwhelmed. That's why we wanted to know who of you want that extra help or need, I don't know, to repetition or some sort of an extra support documentation, and then we will be glad to give you a hand. So besides that, over to you, Brian.
All right, thanks, Daniel. It's so good. Yeah, I'm glad that we threw that survey in the chat. It's good to know. Again, just for your information, for these people that are new and joining us, and this is a brand new world for you. This is what we used to call GDP1, GDP2, right? 2 weeks training for one, 2 weeks training for another, combined into 2 weeks of online sessions, 4 hours a day. So we understand it's a lot. That's why we try to do our best in the exercises to have you guys, if not everything was, I guess, perfectly clear the first time around, you would be able to perform the exercises following the instructions that were given and using the data in the cover page. But we completely understand that you need a lot of assistance and support, and that's why we're there. Shoot us an email. Ask us even right now. Like, for example, now I should dive into the addition to stock exercise and show you guys that one. The processes are very similar. I left out the whole notification process for this one just so we could run through some of the key transactions that make them different from the return to stock. But if you guys consider that we also need a little more time to maybe review some part of another exercise, hopefully I can try to squeeze it in another session if we can, or reach out to me and we'll see how we can give you a hand. All right. I'm taking a look at the emails. Sol is also being copied in the emails for any issues you have in the training environment. And we're trying our best to get to help you all. And if there's nothing else, then the next thing is to move on to our next exercise. Okay, let me just close this demo here and the exercise itself. Click on the addition to stock now for me and show you guys the cover page and the body of the exercise for this one. And now before we even start with it, let's take a look at what it looks like, right? And first at the transactions maybe that we want to perform, just to see how similar they are. All right, so just like we did before for return to stock, remember, return to stock are for materials, equipments that were at one point in stock, and then we return them to stock, right? Because they were either issued or there was any other scenario that was defined in the body of the exercise. In terms of addition to stock, now we're always adding stock that was never in our inventory before. Okay? So the process is different in some areas, but the same for some transactions. For example, here we're asking you the same thing to check, and I see now that the T code is the problem with the T code before is that it had a Z instead of an S here, and that's why it wasn't working. We create our reservation, we view reservations, we approve in the SAP inbox just like we did before. We review the reservation approval. We perform a goods receipt through Migo as well, but you see the role is different. Now we have the senior asset accountant performing the Migo transaction. Okay, whereas before it was a different user. But you see, we also have the update equipment record because we're receiving this equipment for the first time in our inventory. So we're going to have to also add this information. And now again, if we don't have time to cover these in detail, this part of the exercise, the equipment update of the record, was covered by Elena yesterday, right? She did one for enrichment, one for assignment, and one for handover. Okay, so her first exercise, enrichment, is the one we would be using when we want to update pieces of equipment that maybe we have received into our inventory, whether through the normal process of receiving goods from a PO or a process like this one, right, where we're adding goods to stock. All right, the assignment one is when we want to assign a piece of equipment to someone, and then handover is when we're exactly doing that, right? The handover transaction from maybe one person to another, one storage location to another. So this part of the update of equipment that we should be performing in this exercise, i.e. 02, is the same one that Elena was performing yesterday for the enrichment. Then after that, we have again our famous warehouse senior users and the transfer requirements, transfer orders, and confirm transfer orders. So you see the transactions are basically the same. What's missing here is our notification steps. Okay, the job aids themselves, if you guys go to the body of the exercise, and I'll go through this right now in a second. If you guys use the job aids, right, to view, for example, this is the job aid for the addition to stock. If we click on it, the job aid itself, and I know it was created a while ago, but the job aid itself will not tell you to create a notification. And that's why I think also it's one of those things that people really don't think, okay, then I don't have to create it. The system is not going to ask you for it either. So you can go directly, if you actually, I'm going to scroll down to the transactions in the job aid, and it pretty much tells you, do Migo, and if you have a reservation, create it with a reference. So it jumps directly to the Migo transaction if you don't even want to do a reservation in this case. So be careful with this because we would need a notification. We would need to perform the reservation just because it makes it easier. If you guys don't perform a reservation, and we can try that, you'll see how it's different, okay, in terms of what we're trying to do in the system. Okay, so what are we covering now? Addition to stock. What is the addition to stock? The purpose of the exercise is to add, of course, items into stock received against a purchase order. Yes, Daniel?
Sorry, I don't want to interrupt, but in case before starting, do you think it would be a good idea to have a 5 minutes break so we start fresh with the exercise in addition to stock?
Fine. It's just that the hour wasn't up yet. I don't know if it was too early or not, but sure. Let's take the break now.
Yeah, it's 2:51 now. Just thinking, I don't know.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, let's take the break now and come back and start fresh for this one.
Okay. Thank you, Ryan.
All right.
Yeah, and Brian, they are some questions related on whether we can extend the duration of the training in the chat due to the amount of content, right, that we are delivering. But that's something that will have to, let's say, be agreed by the senior management. So not up to us.
Daniel, this is Joe here. I'm just writing something in the text or in the chat on that, right? We did say that we'd have a discussion on when or if we would extend the time for the assessment to be done. Maybe the staff need a bit more time to practice Maybe that's what they're worried about. Maybe they think that if they've done the test when it's supposed to be done, they'd all probably fail. That's maybe I'm wrong, right? But certainly not for everyone, but for some people. So in my message, you'll see. I'll ask the question. We'll probably discuss it offline when we will do the assessment, whether it be in 1 week or 7 days or 10 days, whatever. Just to make the guys more comfortable when they sit down and do the assessment, that they have a lot more knowledge after doing some of the transactions in the system.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know, Brian. Over to you, just in case.
Yeah, thanks, Joseph, for jumping in. Yeah, right. I mean, I understand that you start feeling overwhelmed, and right away you feel like I'm just not going to learn this. I'm not going to be able to do this. Of course, you have time to practice. That's what the exercises are for. There's also a post-training package for you guys to continue practicing, okay, upcoming. So you have plenty of time to review the videos, to practice the exercises, to contact us if you have any issue. It's true that, of course, could we extend the training? Sure. I mean, this training was done for GDP1 was done 3 times, GDP2 3 times, then there was Piro. And I mean, we still continue with this training. We've done tons of refreshers. This is something that people always want training on, right? And it seems like it never ends. But like Joseph said, please practice them. We will see because we have other trainings upcoming. There's a lot of things that are, really coming our way, and I really can't make any promises. And anyway, the last word on this comes from Joseph and the team. So yeah, let's just keep practicing the exercises. Bear with us with the material that we're transferring to you in such a short time, and we'll see what we can do about it in the near future. All right, so maybe we can take our break now. Okay, 5 minutes, and then we'll start at 3. Okay, so I think we should all be back from our break. I know these are quite short, but again, time is short as well. All right, so let's get started. Okay, there's nothing else that I see immediately in the chat. We're still recording, sharing screen, everything's good to go. Next thing, so we were starting with our addition to stock, right? And we saw that the steps were very similar, but now let's see if the process is exactly the same. Remember, in here, in this summary of transactions, I should add the creation of the notification, just like we did for return to stock. Okay, the same process, create a notification, go through the steps, but I knew that there was no way we were going to have time to do notifications and full time through the steps, but I think the notification steps are clear, or at least clearer, maybe, since it's the second day that we're touching them. And the what is important is to understand the addition to stock and the transactions behind it, right? So first of all, for you to understand, the body of the exercise is going to have the possible scenarios that we are dealing with. Okay, scenario 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Okay, up to 5 different scenarios that we can see in an addition to stock. Okay, for stock items received against the PO and the movement type reflected there. Stock items not reported during inventory and the movement type there. Goods received upon completion of a construction contract. Okay, but for example, materials in excess that would be used for repair and maintenance. Okay, goods received with reference to a service contract. All right, so we have the different scenarios here with the different movement types that we have. We even have the last scenario here, scenario 5, receipt of PO delivery overage at no cost, and the movement type that we should use for each one of these scenarios and what implications that has. For example, if you see scenario 4, this movement type, sorry, Z to 1, addition to stock value, the value at the MAP if existing in plant, at PO or at fair market level if not existing in plant. So this is something that I believe will may confuse you a little bit, but to understand that the goods that we receive into our inventory have a value, right, when we receive them. And this value is also directly related to the amount of these goods that we have in relationship, and that has to do with the moving average price. Understand what the MAP value. That's why we highly recommend you look at the job aids. It's impossible for us to cover every single aspect in this training. So take a look in the iSeek page at the job aids themselves and read through what the moving average price value is and how that is affected by the type of movement types that we select when we're moving goods, when we're adding goods, when we're returning goods, and things like that, right? And how this affects the moving average price of the goods that we have in our system. Okay, so depending on the movement type that we select here, we're going to have a different impact in the moving average price of the goods that we have in stock. Okay, also it's going to mean if I use it relevant, it's statistical. This scenario 3, same thing. So in this case, every single scenario I'm
Sorry, Brian?
select, I'm going to have, yes.
Yes, it seems that you're breaking a little bit, and I was checking with the students, with Elena, Cristiana, Josefa. Apparently, you're breaking quite a bit, and I was experiencing some problems as well. Just to let you know.
Okay, thanks. Thanks for that. I hope it doesn't mean I'm going to be kicked out of the session again. Okay, everything seems to be fine. Not sure if, let's see. I'm just going to keep going. Just let me know if it's too bad, okay? And I'll stop. I do. Your network is causing poor quality.
Yeah.
Now it seems to be okay.
Oh, okay. Okay, just in case, I will let you know. Okay.
All right. Thanks.
Yeah, but it seems not so clear for the moment. For what I see in the chat, yeah, not so good.
All right. Okay, I don't know if it's.
Yeah. Hello, Brian. Hi. Okay, bear with us just 2-3 minutes and I will get